page.
Yeah.
When is that the charity drive that you're talking about?
The charity drive starts in next week, about Monday.
Okay.
We have a meeting.
Facebook is the way that you communicate with,
yes,
the rest
Facebook
of
is
the
actually
people?
the way in which people can actually also volunteer for us, and we give all the updates on our Facebook page. And the address is simple: www.facebook.com/nextgenpakistan. We can't keep generation because of the word limit. So it's Next Gen Pakistan. We have all the updates over there, and we have also got an Apply Now tab for all those who want to apply as a representative, who want to join our organization. They can fill out the form over
In fact, I was going through that yesterday as well when I knew that they were coming. So I saw that we are going to put it up on our own Facebook page as well. Again, one thing, that there's this international terminology, I would say, which was coined a couple of years back and has become very prominent these days as well, about how, exactly, thank you very much, about how, people have stopped, wanting or maybe feeling the need to help Pakistan. Because again, in the introduction today also, I was saying that we have had millions and billions of dollars in aid to Pakistan, and sometimes we really don't see where it all goes. Do you see that kind of donor fatigue, that coined terminology, amongst our own people as well?
Generally speaking, donor fatigue is something that we see because, for example, last year when I was at the Liberty camps, it was very obvious to see that people were very generous. They knew about the conditions in Pakistan, they knew about the severity of the floods. And this year there was a marked difference because, as Bakhtawar said, last year we concentrated at gathering funds from the Liberty camp. But this year we had to actually send our contingents around to different centers where people usually moved around. So this year people asked more questions, people were generally less willing to donate. They were asking more questions.
Until they were convinced where
Until they were convinced that our cause was a legitimate one, and they were convinced of our authenticity. So, for example, that Bakhtawar already said that there was this one man, he had a personal argument with me. That he said that you're doing something for Sindh, and he said that I personally believe I am a Punjabi first and then a Pakistani. So you can see that a negative aspect exists there, but overall the people are very generous. They still donated once their questions were answered, generally.
Okay, but now Facebook obviously has a global outreach. Now Pakistanis abroad, anybody contacting you to maybe help out as well? Because abroad also Pakistanis tend to, find the more authentic ways of trying to help the people where they know that this will go to the right place.
Generally, fundraising from abroad is obviously much easier because of the exchange rates, right? If you raise $1 or $10, it's easier to raise $10 as compared to raising 80 or
exactly, and that translated you would make almost like
we have our friends, and we just started off this with friends because obviously we want trusted people over there who are raising money on our behalf. So we have friends who are in Canada, who are in UK, and who are in the US, who are raising funds in their respective universities by organizing charity dinners with their Pakistan student union over there, and they are then sending us the money back into our bank account in Pakistan over here.
Because that is happening as well.
Yes.
My final question to you now, with the general state of affairs in Pakistan and the way the world also perceives Pakistan, whether that is true or not, that's besides the point. How does the young generation feel about, I understand that you both and 30, 40, 50 odd people like you, which is really a drop in the ocean if you look at millions of Pakistanis. How do you feel about the country, and whether you want to do more for it, you have hopes for it, you think that you would actually get something in return as well, eventually. How do you feel? What is your state of mind right now regarding what is happening in the country?
I think this is, if you allow me 2 or 3 minutes, I'd just like to draw a certain timeline over here. Back in 2007 or in 2008, there was a lot of frustration and disillusionment with the way the country was progressing because there were a lot of bomb blasts and there was inflation and the economy was going down. But then this frustration gradually, as it increased, it transformed into a willpower and a determination to do something. Basically, this gave way to determination.
You feel that?
Yes. And this is something I'm talking through experience. This is something that I underwent, and probably this is something Jafar underwent and the rest of the team too, because at a certain point we were disillusioned with the way the country was progressing, but after a certain point we decided that, you know, this country cannot go on like this, and we have to do something, and therefore we decided to stand up and take this initiative.
So basically, you know, let the politicians and the decision makers and do whatever they have to, but it is our responsibility to maybe, you know, contribute something.
If the government is failing in its responsibilities, then obviously it falls back to the individuals. And it's our responsibility, as I previously said, as Pakistanis, to do and give back to the community.
Absolutely.
Especially when we belong to this class of society.
I'm glad that you added that part in it, because usually, most of the time, this is the class of society which actually forgets, tends to ignore the fact, because they are more interested, you know, in their vacations and everything. I'm very glad that you both came here, very inspiring, and I hope that people, you know, watching us, we keep talking about ways and means of going about and helping other people, be it in flood situations or any other way. If you have a will, if you have a desire, if you have a passion, you know, you have a realization to do something, you can do it, no problem. You will find like-minded people who will be willing to help. Thank you once again for coming here and sharing your work with us. We are going to take a very short break, and we'll catch you after that. Yeah. Hello, welcome back. I hope you guys enjoyed and were inspired by what we were talking about just before the break, and we wanted to bring a very young, very newly formed organization to you of young students, because, you know, we can bring anybody otherwise if we want to tell you how people are working for the flood affectees, but we wanted to inspire the young lot, because really it is your responsibility, and if I may include myself as well in the younger lot, our responsibility to do something for our nation. Now, a couple, very few stories, and then we are going to wrap things up here. Now, this is a very rare sight, so we wanted to mention it. An Israeli court made the unusual step of awarding $274,000 in compensation to a prominent Palestinian peace activist for the death of his 10-year-old daughter. Now, she is the little girl. Bassam Aramin said he was surprised by the ruling, and after a 3-year legal fight, Aramin felt vindicated by the ruling that his daughter's death by a rubber bullet fired by a border policeman in 2007 was totally unjustifiable. However, he remains frustrated that the Israeli soldier in question has not been held to account, and Aramin's daughter Abir was standing a short distance from a group of youths throwing stones at Israeli soldiers in the village of Anata when she was hit by a stray rubber bullet, and she died from her injuries 2 days later. What a cute girl. Anyway, some justice over there. So this is something that we wanted to bring to you, and also it was a tough mountain for them to climb, but they have done it. 2 Americans held for more than 2 years in an Iranian prison on accusations of spying have finally returned to the US, ending a diplomatic ordeal that began with what they called a wrong turn into the wrong country. Now, the hikers Josh Fatal and Shane Bauer arrived at Kennedy Airport in New York City. The 2 were released from prison last week under a $1 million bail deal and were embraced by relatives in Oman. And they were detained along with fellow hikers Sarah Short, who was released a year ago, along the Iran-Iraq border in July 2009. And they say they were only hiking in Iraq's relatively peaceful Kurdish region and may have wrongly ended up in Iran. And Iran's foreign ministry called their release a gesture of Islamic mercy. So there you have it. Happy endings for at least 2 people there. Semi-happy for the first one, and definitely happy ending for these 2 there. Now we have the quote for you, and you know, I thought this would be interesting. And this is something very close to my heart. I'll tell you why when you know what we are talking about. This quote is by John J. Welch. And this is what Mr. Jones said. The older generation thought nothing of getting up at 5 every morning, and the younger generation doesn't think much of it either. What a contrast in the same sentence, I must say. I don't know how you guys feel about waking up so early, although you know the earlier you wake up, the easier it is and the quicker it is to get things done during the day. And we would know, Team TMS, because we are very early risers. So yeah, please take inspiration, wake up early, get more done. Now we have the word for you, and this word again, as I was collecting all the information that we would bring to you every morning, I picked it up somewhere along the line. So here we go. Please roll drums. Do it. Yes. And the word of the day is derelict. Derelict is the word of the day. Derelict means in a very poor condition as a result of disuse and neglect. For instance, the cities were derelict and dying, or for a person shamefully negligent in not having done what one should have done. For instance, he was derelict in his duty to his country. But thank God the guests that we had today, this morning, were not. Anyway, we have an example for you. Over the last couple of years, we have witnessed semi-derelict properties being restored to cafes and restaurants, at least here in Lahore. I think that was a very apt use of the word that you can, identify as well. So there you have it. That is our word of the day. Now, I would really like to set your minds rolling with something I read recently. An eagle-eyed Chinese internet activist has raised questions about the rampant corruption in China after spotting countless senior Chinese officials wearing wristwatches they could not possibly have afforded on their official salaries. You see what I mean? So this person went on a detailed search of online picture archives, which revealed officials wearing watches by Rolex, Piaget, Omega, Cartier, each worth several £1,000s, and in many cases equivalent to half their annual salaries. So now that you know what I'm hinting at, please do devote your spare time to this worthy cause, and by all means post your research on the TMS group page on Facebook. I would love to see it. Take care. See you today.